Jason, a couple quick questions. Do you think Bill Inyart was being fair to you during his 1-minute summary? I mean, he went through a long list of his qualifications. He quote unquote hired by the voters of the 12th district. Then he said Mr. Plummer has 8 years since college. What would you say to that?
Well, I think there's different types of experiences, and we've sent a whole lot of people to Washington D.C. that claim that they have all these phenomenal experiences, and I'm a pretty simple guy. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to, do you have the experiences it takes to create jobs in Southern Illinois? Because that's the problem we're facing. And I've created jobs in this region for a long time. My family's created jobs in this region for a long time, and we need to send people to Washington. They're going to turn around this environment. I think Mr. Inyart showed his knowledge on that very important issue when he said things are getting better. I've been doing town halls across this district for months now. I haven't met a single voter that said things are getting better. Just last month, the unemployment rate went up in every county in this district. The national unemployment rate went up, and we need to make sure we stop that and we turn that around. And clearly, it's not going to take trial lawyers to do that. It's going to take businessmen to do
that. You didn't mention your opponents much by name. Are you just trying to focus on issues, or is that a tactic? Or?
This race isn't about an individual. This race is about ideas. This race is about can you articulate the vision and the message that it's going to take to get things fixed in Southern Illinois. My one opponent, he likes to talk about me a lot. I like to talk about the voters of Southern Illinois because they're the ones hurting, and they're the ones you should be running the campaign about.
One question I have is, how would you reach across the aisle if elected to Washington? I mean, like, one or two issues would you work with other members of the major party? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. It's important that we work across the aisle. Republicans and Democrats have to work together. Federal legislators, state legislators, county legislators all have to work together. But that does happen in Washington, D.C. It happens a lot. Just you always hear about the really negative instances where it doesn't take place. We need to send people to Washington with common sense. People are going to work on the issues that matter. Right now, the Republican-controlled House has passed over 35 bipartisan jobs bills. Bills that address things like maximizing domestic energy production, rolling back the regulatory environment that's crushed our jobs market, reforming the tax code. These bills have been passed with Republican and Democrat support, bipartisan, and they're being stonewalled in the Senate right now because the Democrats don't want to vote on them. I'm glad to see the House is working together. We need everyone in Washington working together to fix the job situation in Southern Illinois.
Do you think Mr. Inyart was being fair to the Republican Party when he said the House voted 33 times to repeal the Affordable Care Act, that it still has not voted on the Farm Bill?
No, I think Mr. Inyart had his facts mixed up. It's kind of an interesting situation. Mr. Inyart likes to talk about me a lot. He likes to talk about. He gets confused with the truth sometimes. In fact, our campaign has been forced to create an email where we send out that we call the Inyart Fact Check. And unfortunately, just about every time he opens his mouth, we've got to get that email fired up because usually there's a problem with the facts.
As far as the whole issue of what the major issues you're facing in this district, I mean, your jobs are the big thing. Now that Paul Ryan is on the Republican ticket, is there going to be more focus now on entitlements like Medicare and Social Security? And if so, what are the solutions to those problems? I mean, in other words, do you support the Paul Ryan?
Yeah, the job situation is the #1 situation. It's something that we're definitely focused on. But obviously the entitlement system, Medicare, Social Security, those issues are very important. We need to make sure we send people to Washington that stabilize those programs. A promise made is a promise kept, in my belief. In business, you make a deal on a handshake, you got to fulfill that deal. We've made a lot of handshake deals with our seniors to make sure that Medicare coverage is there for them. But unfortunately, Obamacare cut $700 billion from Medicare. It's not going to be there for our seniors. We need to make sure that it's there for our seniors, and that's why I'm going to Washington.
Do you support Paul Ryan's Path to Prosperity budget plan?
No, not in its current form.
What do you disagree with?
I disagree with a few of the tax policies that exist within it. I think there's some budgetary items that need to be moved around a little bit. But the important thing is the Republican Party's not running on the Ryan plan. The Democrat Party wants to pretend like we are. We're running on Mitt Romney's plan. And Mitt Romney's plan ensures that those programs are there for our seniors.
Do you support Ryan's plan to transform Medicare into a voucher system?
I just said I didn't.
Okay. But you also support the cuts in Medicaid? that Paul Ryan plan calls for?
I did not say that.
Okay. Do you? That's what I'm
No.
asking. Yeah, okay. As far as revamping the tax framework, the Ryan plan calls for, do you support that in its entirety, or would you disagree with that?
We need a complete overhaul of the tax code.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Any more questions?
All right, thanks everybody for being here.